So the Champions League is back and Arsenal started their campaign with a 0-0 draw away to Atalanta. While now it was a very boring game to watch at large parts, I do think there was many interesting points to talk about. So with that said, let's get into it. Now it's been certainly a weird reaction to the game because I think a lot of people are overall very satisfied with the result, but definitely wanted more from the team we put out. I made a video saying I think Arsenal should play some backup players because I think it's a great opportunity to really give people some rest. And I think with our defence anyway, we're going to be quite solid defensively and still need some more going forward. But with the Arsenal team that they put out, it was very strong in the end. Pretty much a full strength team, you have to argue. I think Havertz up front over than Jesus is probably the best option, but in this game that made sense to bring Jesus in. Now unfortunately the game did not live up to really any expectation. I did think Arsenal were going to play quite conservative, but without Jorginho on the pitch and us playing Rice again, you would have thought that the legs would have been in there enough to create some considerable chances. I feel like right now it's quite easy to say that the attack is definitely not clicking, and I do think that is definitely a follow-on through effect from the fact that Odegaard isn't there and the midfield isn't really working. So hopefully we can get past this tough run of fixtures and bring Marino and Odegaard back in the future. With that being said, let's first look at the positives. It is definitely the defensive side of the team. Now I don't think that Atalanta really had that many meaningful chances. They had yet again a few shots from outside the box which went wide, but they really did struggle to get into the box for large parts of the game. Now their XG was better than Arsenal's overall, and we all know why that was, because of the penalty that Thomas Partey gave away. Now if the penalty had been given for Arsenal, I think you would see a lot more uproar about it, and I do think it is very soft, something I don't think they would probably give in the Premier League right now as speaking. However, Partey gets done on the inside, they go around him, yet again not quick enough, and he does pull the guy slightly where he goes down. But luckily for us, I think we have right now the best goalkeeper in the Premier League, the player that I think has been Arsenal's best player this season, and I think consistently he has proved it. Every single game this season he has turned up in big ways for us, David Raya has, and arguably this is the biggest one so far. He saves the penalty, which is a very poor penalty by Retegui for Atalanta, but yet again his ability to get up and get to the rebound and save it off the line in which we clear it after that is exceptional. And yet again it's another brilliant game by Raya where not only did he do a great penalty save, he's so calm all the time, he's got great distribution, and I think he is just improving every week. I think there's a major argument to see that Raya is one of the best keepers and is slowly catching up to the elites in the Premier League. Now I'm going to do a full separate video on Raya which will come out after this in a few hours, and I was actually planning to do that video anyway and wanted to see how this game was going to go, and yet again I think he really stood out, so I think it just makes sense. And yet again I do want to give a big shout out to the defence. I think Timber, Gabriel and Saliba had very solid games overall, and I still think Ben White had moments where he was really good. I just think going forward that sometimes these players, not these ones specifically but more the team overall, have been struggling, and we don't really consistently create chances anymore, where we are just playing a bit for a 0-0 draw, which I get it makes sense with the injuries that we have, and we kind of needed to just get through this week I feel like. So I wouldn't even be against us doing this against Man City. If we get the same result like we did today, we take that and we move on to easier games where we can definitely get wins. I do think that Arteta definitely changed things a lot in this game. He did seem to give a little bit more freedom to the attacking line to create things, which wasn't the best at the end of the day. They seemed a little bit lost I think in moments, and with Atalanta's man-to-man marking I expect us to go long a lot more, and we did, but it never really went to anyone because we never really committed to any of these ideas. And I still feel like people like Gabriel Jesus are just not ready. He has a lot of tangible quality which is great to have, but he doesn't consistently prove it enough, and I think in this game he had moments, but I still think overall he's quite poor, and I'd still rather see Havertz up front because I think his performances are weakened when he's in a midfield three like this rather than a false nine role in the Spurs game. I also have to say that the continuation of Martinelli playing is very troubling. In this game he had more chances yet again, where obviously that one-on-one later on which he kind of scuffed that and kicked over the bar, where he has to do better. Now at least he is getting into the right positions and getting these chances, which is a lot more than he was getting for a lot of last year, but it has been since February now since he got a last goal and assist, and it's just concerning because he keeps playing in every single game and it just feels like he's still not got that composure, he's still not got that decision making in them final third moments. He's definitely a confidence player, but maybe sometimes forcing him every single game and pushing him into it is not actually making us a better team. And I think with people like Sterling there now, and even Trossard who's on better form, you could argue probably should be getting time ahead of him, because he isn't a liability, but it's just concerning where he gets a couple of chances a game and doesn't take them. And I feel like we could do a lot better with players at least who could potentially take them chances, maybe change things up once in a while. But overall, it's a performance that we've seen a lot from Arsenal this year. I still think the attack is struggling. I still think the midfield in many senses is struggling, but the defence has been solid overall. I think sometimes the passes can go quite astray, but I think that yet again is a problem with the players moving around from front of them. And I know it's in retrospect and you look at it past the game, but was it really worth to risk some of the players like Saka for the result that we got? We drew 0-0, didn't really create anything and didn't attack enough certainly, so we've just wasted him now for another 73 minutes when we've got Manchester City on the weekend and we didn't really gain anything. Now, while saying that, we did get a draw, which isn't the end of the world at all. Atalanta away was definitely one of our harder games. I think them and Inter away and obviously PSG at home are our 3 hardest games that we have to play, and we have PSG at home soon as our next game, so we've got the harder games early on, which when you can get past them, you'll definitely have an easier run. I also still don't think this competition right now is the worst thing in the world. We've got time where we get to play against good tactical teams from different leagues, and we're going to have to be patient, but a lot of teams in this Champions League system will get found out, like you saw with people like Barcelona getting an early red card and losing to Monaco, and that's it. They will not play them again, so they cannot repay them woes. Overall, the game isn't really concerning, but I do think it is concerning how it seems like our attack is so not functional right now, and it's sometimes even felt like in this game that we didn't actually want to score. This could be a problem, you can say, with the new Champions League system with these early games when you've got harder games to play. Maybe you're just looking at a draw in retrospect and then you can win the easier ones, which in a sense I do think Arsenal looked at. I also do think the schedule is a big reason for this. If we didn't have Tottenham away, Man City away in this week, and obviously considerable injuries to our midfield, I think we would have been in a lot better position to actually go at Atalanta and try and score a lot more. I think we were very conservative and sort of would rather not concede than go out there to go and score a goal. Maybe if they'd scored that penalty, things might have changed a little bit, but it's quite hard to see. This game definitely felt a bit like the Porto away game we played last year, where I still think there is lessons to learn in Europe. These European teams are very smart. They play different ways of football than you see in the Premier League, and they sometimes have nothing to lose where they will just go at you and do have undeniable quality. I do think Arteta still needs to maybe learn lessons in Europe. I do think we are improving, and I do think overall, if you look at this performance from our performances last year in the Champions League, it is a little bit of an improvement, but it's going to take time, and especially with the new system with 8 group games, we're going to have to get good points overall, but a point here is not the worst. I do feel as well that necessarily our creative part isn't there, but also I think sometimes our pressing isn't as good because Odegaard isn't on the pitch, and I would love to see Waneri get a chance. I wanted to see him in this game and we didn't, and I get why, because it's Champions League away. It's a very nerve-wracking game for him, especially a young kid, but we need to give him some minutes considerably. Like, I don't want him just to not get any minutes in this time, because he's the one person that is the similest to Odegaard that we have in the squad, and he is there and he looks ready. We've all seen him. I want to see him get considerable minutes in these games, and I know we probably will in the Southampton and Leicester game coming up, but we need to try him in some of these games when we need new things to happen, rather than bringing people like Trossard on, who we know what we're going to get, and Jorginho, who actually was really good when he came on, to be fair. Overall, let me know what you think about this result overall. Obviously, we'll take it. It's not the worst result in the world, and now because we'd have to play Atalanta again, it's not really too big of a deal, but it is a bit annoying. We'll see how the Man City result go, of course, and that will probably change our judgment a little bit on this game, I think, but I still think there's lessons to be learned and things we need to improve on. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.